Welcome. It is Monday, November 9th, 2020. Today we will review our Google Meets etiquette, review our class norms, review and recite our mission statement and goals, look over our learning objectives. Then we'll start with our warm-up, and I totally did not change that. Hang on a second. We already finished. We're starting a soil lab. Let me change that real quick. We're going to start talking about soil because we wrapped up our force and energy on Friday. Let me change all this. Unbelievable. Well, it's completely believable. Look at that. See how easy that is? Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Paste. All right, let's try that again. All right, we're going to review our Google Meets etiquette, review our class norms, review and recite mission statement and goals, look over our learning objectives, begin on your science warm-up, and then we will start our week 13, day 1 soil lab. I'm really not sure how long this is going to last, but we will see. We're going to start it today. Google etiquette, please make sure that you show up on time. Make sure you have a quiet place to work. Have all your supplies, mute your microphone, video on. Raise your hand or use the nod if you have a question. Unmute your microphone only when I have called out your name, and leave at the end of the meeting. Some of you are still having a hard time with the whole unmute and talk thing. Let's not do that, please. Our class norms are to be kind, be respectful, and be working. Our mission statement: we will work together as friends and family. In Mrs. Met's class, to gain more knowledge, to work, and to learn, so we can all be successful. We will listen to each other, help each other, and encourage each other. We will make things happen and show the world we will not accept anything short of the best. Good job, guys. 100% of Mrs. Met students will show growth on the unit assessment throughout the 2020-2021 school year. They will accomplish this goal by being purposeful and intentional with their time and learning. Sorry, I'm taking attendance. Some people have just popped in, so I'm catching up on all of that. All right. Today's learning objective is: you will know that the earth consists of useful resources and its surface is constantly changing. You are expected to examine properties of soil, including the color and texture, capacity to retain water, and ability to support the growth of plants. So some of our guiding questions today is: how do plants grow and what do they need? Your champs warm-ups, champs, is you need to make sure you're at a level 0 listening. If you need help, you raise your hand and wait patiently. Your activity is your reading, thinking, solving. Your movement is stay in your spot. Your participation is your 100% focused so that we can all be successful. Our warm-up looks like this. I will show you how to get into it. Let me...
Mrs. Mess, I have no week 13 on my canvas.
I may not have published it yet. Hang on a second. I've been adding stuff to it all morning, but I may never have hit the publish button. I didn't. Here. That ought to fix it. Go back and refresh. It should be there now. It is my pleasure. Thank you. So you should all be going into your class links. At this point, if you are looking at the meeting, it's because you are looking to see what you need to do to go to the assignment. Some of you may not even be looking at the meeting because you already know where to go. We are 13 weeks into school. Honestly, you should already know what to do by now. I try not to change things, and if I do, I try to change it so that it's a little bit more simple. And so this has kind of simplified it a little bit. So go ahead and click on your Canvas. Open up your Mrs. Metz card. Scroll down to week 13. In the field of sunflowers. Click on your week 13 warm-up. And go ahead and load your week 13 warm-up. And it should look something like this. It's loading. Mine's taking a minute. All right, number 1 says matter can change its state due to heating and cooling. Look at the diagram below and fill in the missing blanks. Use the word bank at the bottom to help you. Use each word only once. So the word bank has, I'm looking at the bottom of Monday, the word bank has melting, condensation, freezing, evaporation, heating, and cooling. So you can't drag those. You're going to have to add a text box and type them in. And then you might even go mark off the ones that you use as you use them. Are there any questions about what you need to be doing right now? Scarlett.
So is this the editor? Or do you have 4 boxes?
I see 6. Do you see these ones that are sideways?
Yeah, but what we put there?
Oh, you kind of need to know that. Fill in, what I would do is I'd fill in the 4 and then see what I've got left and see what fits in those 2 on the side. All right, you've got 5 minutes and go. Matter changes from a liquid to a solid. Deborah.
Freezing.
You are correct. It is freezing. Freezing. So let's think about it. We have used melting, condensation, freezing, evaporation. So we're left with heating and cooling. So which side do we think heating goes in? The left or the right? Scarlett. I think you're right. So heating causes the evaporation and the, what's it called? Evaporation and melting. Sorry, I went into la land. Heating causes the evaporation and the melting, which means cooling causes the condensation and the freezing, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type cooling right here. All right. Does everybody have that? Yes? Whoop, whoop. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see what this thing does. Nope. Wish this one worked. I don't know what that is. All right. Okay. Are we good? Thumbs up. We're all done? All right. I am going to delete mine. Y'all know why? So it doesn't save for the next class. We don't want them to have all the answers and you had to have worked at it, right? All right. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And from my warm-up, when I close it, I don't know if y'all's does this, but mine definitely does. When I close it, mine just takes me back to my assignments. I'll show you. I told you. So when I close mine brought me back to my week 13 warm-up. And then if I want to go to my assignment, I can click next if I want to. It's just easier than having to take 20 steps. I can just take one. So today, we are going to be doing we're going to talk about a soil. And it's kind of a little lab that I have some samples here that I'm going to read you a little story and then we'll talk about the soil and all this kind of stuff. And then, and then we're going to fill out. We might get to this part. I think, oh, I spelled that wrong. Here, let me fix that. So I know it says watch the lesson video if you missed the live lesson. You guys are in the live lesson, so you don't have to worry about that right now. But go ahead and click on load your week 13 day 1. And what you will see is a Venn diagram. All right. Give me a minute while I open mine up. I had to fix some stuff. There we go. Thanks for your patience, guys. All right. I think we're good now. So when you opened up that file, you should have a Venn diagram. And then before I get to this part, first thing I want to do is find out, well, how do y'all think soil, what does soil have to do with plant growth? Chloe, what does soil have to do with plant growth? Okay. I mean, yeah, flowers do come from the ground, but you didn't quite tell me how soil affects plant growth. Tyler.
The soil has nutrients that plants need to blossom from the ground.
Sure does. Scarlett, do you have anything to add?
They kind of said the nutrients the plants need, but you put the seeds in the ground, so you put them in the ground, and the plants they will stay under the soil and grow.
All right. Well, let's listen to this excerpt from a tall tale about a farmer named McBroom who bought a wonderful 1-acre farm. See if you can figure out what the soil on his farm had to do with the way his crops grew. Y'all ready for this? Y'all listening? All right. So this is just a piece of a tall tale called Tells the Truth by Sid Fleshman. But the moment I ran the topsoil through my fingers, my farmer's heart skipped a beat. That pond bottom felt as soft and rich as black silk. My dear Melissa, I called, come look! This topsoil is so rich it ought to be kept in the bank. I was in a sudden fever of excitement. That glorious topsoil seemed to cry out for seed. My dear Melissa had a sack of dried beans along, and I sent Will and Chester to fetch it. I saw no need to bother plowing the field. I directed Polly to draw a straight furrow with a stick and Tim to follow her, poking holes in the ground. Then I came along. I dropped a bean in each hole and stamped on it with my heel. Well, I had hardly gone a couple of yards when something green and leafy tangled my foot. I looked behind me. There was a beanstalk traveling along in a hurry, looking for a pole to climb on. Glory be, I explained. That soil was rich. The stalks were spreading out all over. I had to rush along and keep ahead of them. By the time I got to the end of the furrow, the first stalks had blossomed. The pods had formed, and they were ready for picking. You can imagine our excitement. Will's ears wiggled, Jill's eyes crossed, Chester's nose twitched, Hester's arms flapped, Peter's missing front teeth whistled, and Tom stood on his heel. Will, Jill, Hester, Chester, Peter, Polly, Tim, Tommy, Mary, Larry, and little Clary and I shouted, harvest them beans! Within an hour, we had planted and harvested that entire crop of beans. But it was hot working in the sun. I sent Larry to find a good acorn along the road. We planted it, but it didn't grow near as fast as he had expected. We had to wait an entire 3 hours for a shade tree. Of course, there was a secret to that topsoil. A government man came out and made study of the matter. He said there had once been a huge lake in that part of Iowa. It had taken thousands of years to shrink up to our pond, as you can imagine. The lake fish must have been packed in worse than sardines. There's nothing like fish to put nitrogen in the soil. That's a scientific fact. Nitrogen makes things grow to beat all. So, this story gave us some good clues about what needs to be in the soil for plants to grow. We are going to study 2 soil samples. One sample is rich, fertile soil. This would be the kind of soil on McBroom's farm, where the crops grew very well. The other will be poor, infertile soil, like the kind on Old MacDonald's farm, where the crops are not growing well at all. So, what do you think rich and poor soil, like, what are some words that we could use to describe rich and poor soil? Like if I were going to put a description of words here in McBroom's rich, fertile soil, what would I put, Tamari? It's, okay, so is that an adjective though? Like adjectives are words that we use to describe characteristics of something, right? Like that's a phrase. I wouldn't, it makes things grow easily. So well, you know what? We'll add it. Not really an adjective, but it's truth, right? So we'll add it. It helps grow plants. But I think we're kind of looking for, let me see. I have a couple of samples here. Hang on a second. Let me see. See if I can show you guys this. About to make a mess. Hang on a second. Let's do rich, poor. Hang on a second. I'm breaking things. I don't know how to touch it. Hang on. So let's see. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
So, Kaden, do you have a question?
It says something about rich, fertile soil.
Yes. Give me an adjective about.
It has nutrients in it.
Okay.
Nutrients. I just said that.
Has nutrients. Deborah.
I was asking about the soil you showed us and on the table. Did you pick the poor soil from outside?
You can. This is, well, I'd say yes, because all soil's outside, isn't it? Yeah. I wonder if. So did y'all, when I was reading the story, Layla,
You forgot to put the R and nutrient.
I did, didn't I? You guys are good at fixing people's mistakes, aren't you? Nobody's allowed to make mistakes around y'all. So, what are some other things that was mentioned about McBroom's rich, fertile soil that the government did? Do you want me to read it again? You want me to read the part? So it says, a government man came out and made study of the matter. He said there had once been a huge lake in that part of Iowa. It had taken thousands of years to shrink up to our pond. As you can imagine, the lake fish must have been packed in worse than sardines. There's nothing like fish to put nitrogen in the soil. That's a scientific fact. Nitrogen makes things grow to beat all. So what's another adjective I could use for rich soil? Tyler. Yes, it has nitrogen. Has nitrogen in it. Let's see what else we can find. So I'm going to show you guys these soils. I have an example of a rich soil, an example of a poor soil. And I don't know if turning on this light would help you. You can kind of see the difference, right? So what are some things that we can say about the rich soil that the poor soil doesn't have? Scarlett.
The poor soil is lighter than the rich soil, so the rich soil has more stuff to help us take the poor soil.
So I can say that the rich soil is darker. Yeah. I can tell you by feeling of it, like, this is wet. The rich soil feels moist, and the poor one is very dry. So could I say that the rich soil holds moisture? Holds water? The poor soil is very dry. Angie.
Rocks.
What has rocks? Which one?
The poor.
Poor one has rocks in it? I don't know that it has rocks. I guess that's a rock, yeah. I just crumbled it. So yeah, it's got rocks in it. So would the poor soil have nitrogen in it? Kaden?
No.
It wouldn't. So the poor soil would not have nitrogen. Would it have nutrients?
No.
What do they both have, though? What do they both have, Tyler?
They both have nutrients.
No, they're not going to both have nutrients. Luke.
They both have soil.
They both have dirt, right? Soil, dirt. They both have some sort of dirt. It almost looks like this rich soil has some sort of, y'all know what mulch is? Mulch is like shredded trees. And why is the shredded tree good? What does it do? Well, I guess they both kind of do. I guess they both kind of have mulch. Angie.
Because it's moist?
Yeah, it holds moisture better, right? These kind of both have mulch. So I'm going to say they both have mulch. Now y'all do understand in doing this that this doesn't mean that this is the end-all be-all of rich soils and poor soils, right? Y'all know that you can go various different places across the U.S. and a rich soil is going to be different than a poor soil. Oftentimes you find that a rich soil contains clay as well. So I'm going to put in here that it sometimes contains clay. Poor soil tends to be more sandy. Like this, when I look, it looks like it's got sand in it. When I look at the poor soil, here, y'all can't see it. When I look at the poor soil, look at that. I think that's what gives it its lighter color, is it looks like it's got a little bit more sand in it. So I'm going to say that the poor soil has more sand, which makes it drier, doesn't it? Kind of makes it drier. All right. Well, that's it. Well, so here's what I want you to do. The very bottom, I want you to type in a sentence describing something that we just, this is kind of hard to do for y'all because y'all can't feel this stuff. But I think this is good. So here's what I want you to do. At the bottom of your Venn diagram, I want you to type a sentence, complete sentence, that compares the rich fertile soil to the poor infertile soil, right? So I might type something like the rich fertile soil has more blank, blank, and blank than the poor soil. The poor soil has lots of blank and blank that or blank and blank, not Layla.
You put the T in pool.
Poot. Again. Man, nothing gets by you guys. The rich, fertile soil has more blank, blank, and blank than the poor soil. The poor soil has lots of blank and blank that does not allow it to blank. That should help you get started, right?
I was going to say you could type that therefore.
Oh, well, I like that. Therefore, oh, I like that. We're going to do that. For. I don't like the word therefore. Blank. Now, does each blank necessarily mean that it's a single word?
No.
No, it's not. It means it could be a single word or a phrase. That last one should be a phrase, shouldn't it? All right. When you are done with that, go ahead and click up there, submit and submit. Right? And then that will close out your soil lesson for today. Okay? All right. Any questions about what you need to be doing? Angie.